All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to try and unravel one of the most complex, most intricate manufacturing puzzles ever attempted. We're talking about India's incredibly bold quest to become a real powerhouse in the global semiconductor market.
You hear people saying it all the time now. Semiconductors are the new oil, the new steel. And honestly, they're not wrong. This stuff is the absolute bedrock of our modern world. I mean, it's the invisible force that's powering literally everything, from your toothbrush all the way up to your car.
So, the big question is, what does it actually take to build an industry this critical from the ground up? I mean, especially when you're kind of playing catch-up. How is India planning to get ahead of the game and really take the driver's seat? Well, let's find out.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to look at this in 5 key parts. We'll cover why it's the new geopolitical oil, decode the value chain, look at India's specific strategy, the manufacturing challenges, and finally, the risks and opportunities.
All right, first up, the new geopolitical oil. Let's really get into why these tiny little chips matter so much on the world stage. Why are they basically the new currency of power?
You know, it's simple, really. Semiconductors are the foundational building block for pretty much the entire modern economy. Without them, well, we all saw what happened during the pandemic, right? Manufacturing for cars, phones, you name it, it all just grinds to a halt.
And that control, that's where the real power lies. It gives countries like Taiwan this incredible geopolitical leverage, because when you control the chip supply, you basically control the global economy. It's this concept called a silicon shield, and it's a super powerful way to guarantee both your economic and national security.
Okay, so let's move on. How in the world do you turn a handful of sand into the actual brain of a supercomputer? This journey is, well, it's pretty mind-boggling. Let's try and decode it.
At the absolute heart of this whole process is something called the fab. It's short for fabrication. And trust me, this is where all the magic and the insane complexity really happens.
So check this out. The journey is just a marvel of engineering. You start with super high purity sand. You melt it, you purify it, and you form it into this big cylindrical thing called an ingot. Then, that ingot gets sliced into these impossibly thin disks. Those are the wafers. And on those wafers, billions of transistors are etched. Finally, the finished chips are assembled, tested, and packaged. It's wild.
And to really grasp the level of precision we're talking about, listen to this quote. It's like trying to write the entire Encyclopedia Britannica, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and like 20 other massive books on a tiny piece of paper. That's the kind of mind-bending complexity we're dealing with.
Okay, so after all that crazy fabrication, the tiny chip brain goes through what's called ATMP. That's assembly, testing, manufacturing, and packaging. This is the last crucial step. It's where the chip gets its body, basically, so it can handle heat, connect to power, and actually be put onto a circuit board, in your phone, in your car, everywhere.
All right, so given just how insanely complex this whole value chain is, what's India's actual game plan? How is it going to compete and even win in this super competitive global race? Let's talk strategy.
Well, India has a massive ace up its sleeve, design talent. I mean, a staggering 20%, 1/5 of the entire world's semiconductor design talent is already located in India. These are the folks working for all the huge names you know, like Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA. Now, when we talk about chips, it's important to understand this. Size matters, but it's kind of backward. The smaller the number, like in nanometers, the more advanced and powerful the chip is. So you have the really high-end, leading-edge stuff below 7 nanometers for AI and supercomputers. And then you have what are called legacy nodes, above 24 nanometers, which are the workhorses in our cars, TVs, and power electronics.
And this chart, this is where India's strategy becomes absolutely brilliant. Look at that. A full 50% of the entire global market is for those legacy chips, the ones above 24 nanometers. It's not all about the flashy, super advanced stuff. The bulk of the market is in the chips that power, well, everything else. And that's exactly where India is aiming.
So here's the bottom line on the strategy. They're starting with those 28 nanometer nodes to go after the single biggest slice of the market first. But, and this is so important, they're not just focusing on building a single factory. The real goal is to build the entire ecosystem around it. The chemicals, the gases, the equipment, the whole shebang. This isn't a short-term plan. This is a 25-year growth story. So the strategy is smart, right? But actually doing it, that's the manufacturing gauntlet.
The level of precision required for this stuff is it's almost impossible to wrap your head around.
Okay, for starters, you need something like 500 different chemicals to even begin. Just think about that, 500 different high-purity chemicals.
And that's not all. You also need about 50 different specialty gases. These aren't just any gases. They have to be incredibly pure.
And the purity level for all of this stuff has to be 99.999%. And get this, that's not measured in parts per million, which is already tiny. We're talking parts per billion. That means a single microscopic speck of dust can completely ruin an entire batch of wafers, costing millions and millions of dollars.
So, okay, we've established this is incredibly complex, with an absolutely razor-thin margin for error. So what are the biggest risks? And on the flip side, where are the biggest opportunities?
The day-to-day operational risks are just extreme. You need perfectly stable power. A tiny 1% change in the frequency, just for a moment, can wipe out an entire batch. You need ultra-pure water, which has to be manufactured right there on site. And get this, even the vibration from a truck driving down a nearby road can be enough to ruin production. It's that sensitive.
So, how do you even begin to manage all that? Well, India is being very smart about it. It's building a trusted global partnership, a network of allies like Japan, South Korea, and the EU to make sure the supply chain for all those critical materials and equipment is secure and reliable.
And that brings us right back to the beginning. As India builds this entire ecosystem completely from the ground up, the opportunities are just vast. Think about it. We're talking about everything from producing those specialized chemicals to manufacturing ultra-pure water. A whole new industry is literally being born. So the question for you, whether you're an entrepreneur or an investor, is this: where can you participate in this revolution? Who's going to step up and seize this incredible moment?